Welcome to another episode of the Grindhouse Podcast. This is episode 40. I'm your host, Edwin Cabrera, aka Steady Eddie. Across the screen from me is my co-host, my day one, Chris Martin, aka Critta.
What's up, guys?
We have two special guests on this podcast. Well, we have kind of three because I guess on this episode I'm a little bit of a guest also. So we have Harlym125 joining us. What up, Harlym?
What's up, yo? What's going on, fam?
Harlym is a poet, performer, all-around super talented guy, great actor also. We got Jake Fay, the filmmaker. What up, Jake?
Yeah.
What up?
Yeah.
So Jake directed the video we're going to be talking about, which is Who Shot You, starring Harlym, written by Harlym, and cinematography by me. He also has another film, a feature film that he's been working on called The Process that is finished post-production, right? And
yeah.
There's a trailer coming out soon, so we'll talk about that a little bit after we're done talking about Who Shot You.
Is the trailer ready?
What was that?
He said we're releasing the trailer on Monday.
Oh, we can't get a sneak peek? Exclusive?
Can't get that exclusive on the pod, man? What the hell?
So I'll start. I'll start with my first question, just because I really wanted to. Let me set the scene first, real quick, before we even get into. Let me set the scene because the way sort of the video come about. If you guys haven't seen it yet, check our YouTube channel, Grindhouse Recordings. It's called Who Shot You. Definitely check it out. It's a very, very, very powerful piece that deals with pretty much what's been going on in our country, for forever. It's a piece that Harlym performed on July 4th. Jake and I were at a protest in Lynn, and Harlym was there performing. And I think Jake and I were I think you and I were standing right next to each other when the Harlym was doing his piece, and I was blown away. I think you were also. It's just the intensity of the piece was just like jaw dropping. I don't know if you want to, Jake, if you want to talk about, like, from your perspective, like how you felt when you first heard Harlym perform his piece.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, I was called out to be a marshal for the protest. So I was kind of like running around doing different things. And then Harlym started speaking, and I don't want to be too vulgar on the podcast, but it's one of those things where you kind of just like, he's so powerful in his art that you just kind of shut the fuck up and listen to him. That's kind of how I phrase it. It's like I was running around doing these things. It's like, no, he immediately grabs your attention in a powerful way, and you can't look away. You want to listen because it's such a great message, and the performance is it's emotional, but it's also controlled and powerful in so many different ways. So yeah, once I heard him, immediately my mind kind of starts thinking of how can more people see this than just the people at this protest. And obviously with people in the film industry and having you such close by, I had to bring it up. It was just something that I really, really felt like it needed to be, made with care and get that film out on a YouTube platform or any sort of video platform for people to see.
Sure. And Harlym, can you talk a little bit about the piece itself? And like, when did you write it? When did you, like, there's a huge performance aspect of it that seems like is just as important as the words you say is sort of how you perform it. Can you talk a little bit about the piece itself? Harlym,
you're muted.
I could doing that mute thing. All right. So I definitely could talk about that, but wanted to start by just saying thanks to y'all for seeing something in it and wanting to put some real muscle and ingenuity and some for real camera work behind it, and the vision and the artistry of it happening. And there are things there that I didn't even catch until after it was done, and I'm looking at it, and then I'm seeing other people. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But the piece is, I don't know, just comes from a different place. It was just so many. It's just so many times I've seen people looking like me just getting murdered, and I just started writing, and it was like half written and half just there already. Like, I really believe as authors, I believe it's probably the same for Jake as a writer, and you add as a artist of cinematography. Like, these words, I think they just come through us. And our lives are more connected than we give it credit for. And so we live our individual lives, but we have so many similar circumstances and things that connect us, that these words come through us and we just give them life. And so these things just kept coming to me. And as I'm writing it, some things I wrote down, some things I didn't have to, but it just became an existence. And then equally as important for me has always been, if people choose to give you their attention, take advantage of it in a positive way. Make sure, you give it what you can. And drummer, one time when I was taking drum classes, don't make me fool you, I'm not a drummer, but I was taking a class. And the homie, one of the first things he said, when you hit the drum, think about it, you can't take the sound back. So I look at that the same way when I speak. I can't take those words back once I let them fly. So I try to be intentional about what I say and how I say it and what comes out. And every time that I actually deliver that piece, I don't call it a performance because I can't. It's such a body experience for me. I contribute every part of me to it because it's just that important to me, and it's so. It's just so painful to do. Every one of them times that I did it, it was some pain there, which I made it easy for me to kind of get back and then bring it again. And so usually every time I'm done with it, I almost got to find a private place and just calm down. Or this time I just start bursting into tears. Cause just think about, because as I'm saying, I'm thinking of all of the death, like it's right there in my head. And then I think about the things that didn't make it into the poem that still exists. I mean, it could be so much longer and so many other things. And I just think it's just regular shit that we get murdered for. You know what I mean? And it's just people that give a damn. All of us on this podcast, man, can get murdered for some stupid shit because of us, because we believe in love, inclusion, and trust, and justice, and equality, and equity, and shit like that. It's just, there's evidence in the Kenosha joint with my man walking through with the rifle and just shot two people and kept going. It's like, really? That could be any one of us on the screen. That takes it to a different place. It's just, but it also is indicative of the problem. I could talk, so let me be quiet. But so that's where that comes from, man. That's where that poem came from. And whenever people listen to it, I try to give it to them,
How long does it take you to write something like that?
It just depends on what it is. That probably took maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. It just, because it's coming from a place, Chris. It's coming from a different place. And time doesn't even exist in the same way. When you're writing like that, when you create, I mean, all of you, when you're doing your thing, your genius thing, that thing that you love doing, when you're in the zone and it's just happening, it just happens. So you make it look easy, but it's not. You know what I mean? And so that's what it is.
Marvin Gaye, I don't know, like if you know the background of Marvin Gaye, what's going on. That album is like one of the most powerful albums, talking about just like, just the oppression that goes on in the United States and how Marvin Gaye captured it, like soulfully, in a way that really moves people. And he, I was reading or I was watching his documentary, and he was talking about how it came about making that album. He wrote that album in one sitting, and he said that it wasn't him writing, it was God writing, And so an album that beautiful, that special and that powerful was written in one sitting. I think it took him a couple hours to write, and it like he said, it felt like for him, it wasn't even him writing, it was God writing it. So, I think sometimes with these pieces, when it comes from a place, I feel like, the time it takes to develop it, maybe it's a little bit quicker than if you're just trying to make something that you're trying to get people to hold on to. It's like you're trying to say something. So it seems like it just comes from a much more powerful place than just trying to create to have people enjoy. It's, and I feel the same way about this piece, man. Like what's funny is, since this video's been out, I've had white people reach out to me, and they say they've said repeatedly, like, it's hard for them to get through that video. Like they had to pause the video, take a break, and then keep playing the video because it was just so like painful to hear you say and perform, what it is that you're performing and saying. And so I'm my next question, Harlym, for you is when you were writing this, when you were creating this piece, who was the target audience that you were trying to reach out to? Who you were trying to speak to?
Initially, I was just trying to speak to my bros, people just tell our story and just want them to know that we in this together. Then it was to people just don't, particularly white folks that just don't think about it in that way. Like this is just, like I said, regular shit that we get murdered for. And it's just not the same. And so when you hear it, it's like you're having a broken taillight. You could get murdered for that. For your child could be in the back seat. You get murdered for that. You could be at church. You get like, these are, because they become just news headlines and flashes in the news, and we become desensitized to it or sensationalized by it, and we dismiss the humanity of it. So to put it in that flat platform like this, look, this is what it is. In your face, unfiltered. Now see it again. Hear it, feel it again. The word, the repetition of the word imagine is intentional. The repetition of the word shot is intentional. Every part of it is just intentional until the crescendo at the end where it's like, really? Can you imagine a place where you can go and not get shot? It seems like who thought you ever have to say a question like that? But then for the answer to be as real as I cannot. And going back to what you were saying before, Ed, like, it's so much bigger what we've been doing. And I definitely want to hear Jake drop in on this. If y'all remember that day, like anyone that watches that video, I was talking about this today. When you watch it, I talk about how silent it is. And I was like, that day, was so silent. Like, it was just crazy. I mean, we had every now and then, like the car that had the car honking and the thing. But just, y'all remember that day? We was right next to the train. Remember the train for 2:30 or whatever? It never came. So we were done. And there wasn't like a whole bunch of people trying to interrupt the shot. We might have had one person that walked when we was taking a break. Like, and the people that we ran into, that they remember, there was the heads that was, they was getting high, whatever, but the dude had got shot. And then his partner was talking about how his partner got shot not too long ago. So all of these larger things were just at play on the day of that shoot. And that, remember we almost didn't have a crate because I broke the first one. That's a little blooper reel. the crate ended up working out the second one. Yeah. And it was so many things that day that just meant, and even before then, the fact that we met, it was on the 4th of July, that we was doing this work and y'all was there. And, it could have been anything because people probably come up to y'all and sometimes people come up to me and they say things, you're like, whatever, you take it for that moment, like, all right, it's cool. But then that it really took place, because we was trying to pick a date and we ended up picking like, I don't know, a month later. I was like, let's see what happens. But it still seemed kind of dope. And then for us to get together and it just rocked like that, it was good energy, man. It was so much larger than anything, any one of us, so much larger than any one of us, man. And I'm proud to represent them. Oh, remember we went upstairs to the train to the L, and remember those shots said, make Lynn great again? That wasn't even part of it.
Exactly.
We just saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
How much of that day was improvised just because of the energy? You know what I mean?
I think time you're creating a video like this, a film like this, or any sort of artwork, when you go out and actually create it and give the universe that positive energy, things will in some sense come to you. Of course, like some things bad will happen on set and stuff like that. But like you're saying, it was quiet. We were on a train station, and not one time did sound cut through of a train. We created something that wasn't there that morning. I think that's so important to link with people that you can work with and make something that's powerful. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the universe will stay quiet at the moment. And in some sense, it seemed like we went and we made this. And then you get the Jacob Blake thing, and it was almost like the universe let us make this quietly, so that it was in the sphere for this, so people can say, they can look to this and say, this isn't something that was an outlier thing. Look at this video. People are talking about this from that. And I recently started listening to. I've been watching Lovecraft Country on HBO, and they play a lot of Gil Scott. And you listen to him from the 1970s, early 70s, and he's talking about the same thing. So these things that are in the universe will always be something we can look back to when racial things like this happen with police or any injustices. And I think that's why, to fill up the universe with powerful videos like this, because people need to look at them as the truth of people telling their truths, and that's always super important.
It was so dope. You know, remember, I could, like I said, I could talk. Look at our cast and our crew. How our racial composure, our identities, our ethnicities. Even on this podcast, it represents a coming together, a working together with a singleness of purpose, which is to get this energy out. And that's what y'all was at from day one. Y'all was like, we just want people to see it, and we just, all right, cool. It's just crazy. And the ill thing is, the one thing that I fought you on, I didn't really fight you on it, but I was like, you sure about this crate thing? I'm going back to the crate. So I was like, I would never stand on a crate and do this thing. That has become like a standout piece of it that people see as art. Like they tell their own version of it. Like, for you to be standing on the crate and then have the equality. Like, I didn't even know what I was going to do with it, but when it started and I seen the black and white and then the equality was in, I was like, yo, that's just different. And it just kind of just took off from there. The other day, this one student told me, yo, I didn't even look at it this way. He said, you know what, Harlem, it's like this. He said, you know how you go to these parks and things like that and you see statues and how much attention these statues get at? All these people looking at these statues and they're just taking them in. And there you are as a human being, and nobody is paying any attention to you, and you saying something so real and so important. I hadn't even thought of it.
Yeah. No,
I don't know if that's what y'all thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let Edwin speak on that, but it is so interesting because there's this weird concept that I don't have a full opinion on it yet, but this idea that we make statues of people, it's kind of weird that we idolize a human. So yeah, when you say that, it is really cool that, like, hey, it is almost like you're a statue and people aren't listening. It's just a cool concept to run your mind around, because it is very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even, to be honest with you, when it came to the whole crate thing, the idea, when Jake presented the idea first, because Jake had that idea, he, The Last Man in San Francisco, the movie, I don't know if you've ever seen Harlem before, but in the beginning of the movie, there's this part where this man is sitting on the crate and he's talking and nobody's really listening, but he's saying his piece. And we got that idea from that. And I really liked when Jay presented that idea. I really liked it because the aspect of, not having anything particularly like an official wooden polished podium and a mic and all this like fancy shit. No, we just like a crate, getting up on a crate as if it was a podium and saying what you had to say. It was like, for me, I looked at it as almost like it was like a podium of the common man to get up and say what he has to say. And that's why I really like that concept of getting on the crate and starting the speech. Obviously, we didn't want to have you stay on there because I knew the piece was mostly performative. And so I wanted to make sure that you're moving around and you're being free to do what you feel like doing at the moment when you're saying your words. But starting, on that what I would say is a podium is kind of like, I have to say something and I want the whole world to see it, whether or not they're here to actually receive this message. So I really like that part of it. And then just the way you carried from there, just your ability to really, kind of moving on a little bit from just that aspect, but your ability to be able to build that appropriately. Like the fact that, when the scene starts and you're walking down the stairs and you're coming from that darkness into the light and you set that podium down. And even before you get on the podium, it's not like you put it down and you get up and you start saying your piece. You build the tension. You put it down, you look around, you take it in, and then you slowly step up on the podium. I feel like that building of it really kind of added a lot more to it. And to be honest with you, that's a really good analysis from who you were talking about, because the whole statue thing, I don't know about you, Jake, but that part didn't occur to me because of the whole bringing down of the statues thing is obviously been a huge discussion, and so that part didn't even really occur to me.
Yeah, and I think people would make fun of me because I went to school for film, but in Harlem, you're in the college sphere, and same with you, Edwin, as the teaching, and like it is when you could sit down and have these discussions, more things come out. So that idea that essentially thing came out in an academic setting is so cool, because in a more cynical way, someone could say, maybe Harlem, you went to the train stop yesterday and you weren't on the box, but you felt, okay, if I go on the milk crate, I'll be higher up. Maybe people will listen. And this really cynical version of this is like, no one's listening right now in the world. Of course, we are having these massive protests, which are great, but this other side just isn't listening. So in a more cynical version, it's like, okay, today you showed up on the milk crate and they're still not listening. Tomorrow you might come on a fucking ladder and maybe they'll listen. But so it's such an interesting thing when you keep turning and like, you know, thinking about this sort of stuff, just great ideas come out of it. But yeah, I think in a cynical way, it's like you got on that because yesterday you weren't on it and they weren't listening. Today you're on it and they're still not listening. When are they going to listen? You know, and hopefully people start listening soon. I think there's some changes happening, but people do need to listen, especially white people. Just shut up and listen, and then back people that are going through it. You know,
we just gotta keep moving. Chris, when you saw it, what'd you think, man?
I think it's amazing. I think it's incredible, you know, that you're able to like demand people's attention. You just bring insane energy. Yeah, I actually showed it to some people and they were just silent the whole time. Like they just like afterwards they just like took a big breath like wow, that was incredible. So yeah, it truly is amazing. I'm actually curious, like what are some of your like lyrical / like writing influences?
Oh, that was easy. I'm a huge like Langston Hughes, and I just love how he's one of them cats that uses his mastery of vocabulary is exquisite. But I like how he typically just uses regular language and just puts them in these beautiful patterns. And it just says so much. And then the more you learn about his life, the more you're like, damn, he was just so incredible. And then I also love like a Zora Nero, and I love a living is gonna be a Saul Williams. Like that dude, he does his thing. In the world of the MC, I'm definitely like a Biggie, KRS. I do the Nas thing.
yes, sir.
Huh?
Said yes, sir. Nas is the greatest.
Yeah, his new album, I like his new joint too. I like the Latu album too. The new cats, the little baby, he kind of alright. He cool. I don't know. I mean, J. Cole and Kendrick. I mean, they alright. You know, I'm not. We'll see what happens with all of them, but. So those are some of my main influences with the folks that I have mentioned earlier. Definitely Langston Hughes, because he's from Harlem too. You know, he spent so much time. He did so much for Harlem actually. And then Zora Nero. The first time I read "The Eyes Are Watching God," I was just blown away by her writing technique and her sense of style, like dressing and things like that too. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's somebody else that I really get into. Up late would be Claudia Rankin, who wrote the book Citizen. That's incredible. And Gloria Anzaldúa, she's dope. Gloria is phenomenal. And no, now you got me going. Toni Morrison, the late great Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, so many people. It's because of Toni Morrison that I write my name, usually like my government name, in small letters, because she would sometimes do that. She said she would do it just to remind herself that she's just among everyone else in the world, not capital, so to speak. So anyway, there you go. That's that.
I got a question in terms of like, I think one of the, not that I'm surprised by this at all, because you were an amazing performer the second like we watched it, Jake and I watched the performance, but I was amazed how well you did in front of a camera in terms of like just understanding. Like I think one direction we gave you was, you know, we had a 4-camera setup because we wanted to make it feel like these cameras were people that were watching you perform, and the whole point of that was to make it feel like you're speaking to people, you know, through the screen. Like people who are watching you are feeling like they're there experiencing what you're saying. And I think we gave you that, and your ability to be able to work with that, just that simple direction, and bring out so much in terms of how you work the cameras. Can you talk a little bit about like what was going through your mind when you were working the cameras and doing your performative pieces? Because it was every take you did, honestly, dude, every take you did was just like amazing, you know? And so I just like, in terms of a performer, have you done stuff on camera before, and how was that for you?
I mean, lightweight things here and there, and it's fine. But for something that meant as important as this meant to me, few things, but none comes as close to being this in this moment right now, you know. And every time I did it, along with you all giving me the space to just kind of get what I needed to get, um, I took myself to a different presentation of it whenever I've done it. And each one of those cameras, I saw people. So I'm looking at them as people. And so I'm not like, and to be frank, I didn't even like, I can't remember my man that was the people that was working the cameras.
JR and Andre.
Well, you had the handheld for a minute,
Yeah.
and Jake had the boom. Remember at one point I was looking at the boom mic like it was a person because I got lost in it. Like, and that's why I was looking at you that way. Like, I just put myself in a place and looking at them. I took them as people that were hearing it and that was, you know, listening to it. And so that's what I just did every time. I just put myself in a different environment, in a different setting that I've been in before, and just want to make it happen. I also didn't want to waste your time. I didn't want to, you know, I wanted it to be something, you know, that worked and that had some weight to it. And if nothing else, I know I put my best into it because I really was humbled that you all put all that into it. When you said you want to do something I was like, all right, cool. I figured we get like a camera or two, an iPhone or something, and it'd be good. But when I got there, you had like a crew, and you had, you know, like 4 cameras, and then you pulled out the drone. I was like, this shit is like, this some Spike Lee. Like, this is different, yo. This is, whoo, Ava DuVernay. I'm like, yo, we about to. This is. I was like, okay. I was like, Jamil, let's get it together. Take one. Let's go. So nah, I mean, I just wanted to be for real. I wanted to mean something. Man. I've done some little things, but not like this.
And Jake, I wanted to talk real quick about our process for because Harlem mentioned the color grade, and you know, I wanted to talk about that real quick. I'll let you kind of start it off if you want to start it. Kind of talk about how that came about, how we ultimately decided on.
Word, I'm interested, like how you came up. That shit is dope. So
yeah. I originally wanted to be, you know, unsaturated because to play to this theme of more realistic, you know, type of color correction. But then, you always want to keep black and white off a while. You don't want to go to black and white because it can be powerful, but also it can kind of crush what you did on set. You know, if you had good lighting on set, if you had a good backdrop, you want that to be in color in some sense. So I didn't want to ever like shoot the black and white idea early. And when we watched the color correction and we saw it, like the unsaturated version, it looked great. And then we were at Edwin's house and we kind of both just kind of said like, should we see it kind of in black and white, see how it works? And once we saw that original in black and white, it really was powerful, and it still had the same grain and the same grit to it, without looking, you know, cheap or student filmish. So it worked really well. And then of course the gold letters just immediately made sense to you know, mask that and get that in color. And I think the black and white brought so much more than I think the color could have. And the fact that we just followed that equality on the shirt and that it was right on you, so it was moving with you, it worked just really well. And I think that it was a perfect thing for it. But again, like as a filmmaker, I always want to keep black and white for the last possible thing. If the color's not working or whatever, or you're frustrated with how it's grading, you go to that black and white idea. But it wasn't a last ditch thing. It was more just like, let's just see it. And it just worked really well, which is always super helpful. And it helps makes the hard decisions a lot easier.
Yeah, at first, like black and white was not on my mind at all at first. I considered it just a little bit because of just the whole idea of like, I mean, kind of like, you know, black and white, if we're talking about race, like that whole aspect of it. But I wanted to wait and see, you know, with Jake first before we even went to that approach. You know, and so originally the color grade was just like, you know, more muted colors, but the colors were still there. And then I think it was almost like once we had done everything we needed to do, once we were reviewing the video, the last thing we, you know, asked ourselves was, let's take a look and see what it looks like in black and white. And so once we did that, I was like, well, this makes, to me, it makes sense on a symbolic level, just the whole black and white thing, talking about essentially, you know, the issues between black and white in our country. And so that, you know, that aspect of it was good. I'm very, very thankful, Harlem, that, you know, because I asked you, I think on the day of the shoot, I asked you to just, you know, bring a black shirt because, you know, it's a Black Lives Matter video. And you, not only did you bring a black shirt, but you brought a black shirt that said equality in gold on it. And so that was when we saw it in black and white, it was like, oh man, that looks dope. And it kind of like on a symbolic level, it kind of hits on what we're trying to do. And the obvious next step, you know, was, well, that the gold from the shirt needs to be there. And so then we kind of played around and then isolated the color so that just the gold was popping. And that look for us, I was like, oh, that means so much, because now, you know, you have this black and white color grade, and that, you know, that has some symbolism to it. But to have everything be black and white and the only thing that's in color is the golden equality, that like takes that message and the color grade and just, you know, puts it on another level. So now people know exactly why it's in black and white, because what is golden is everybody being equal. And so that's how that kind of came about. And I you know, it's like you were saying earlier, I mean, all of this was sort of serendipitous. You know, it wasn't like we deliberately before production decided that like, oh, this was, even the location was like the day of the shoot. We had another location in mind, but we decided against it because the noise was too loud. It was a high traffic area. So we're like, let's shoot it over here. And even then I thought that was great, because like there was a part in your poem where you talk about like the train being shot at a train station. And then, you know, that shot of you like putting your hands behind your back and, you know, the train station signs behind you, it all like serendipitously just worked well for the video. And then even catching the Make Lynn Great Again, you know, underneath the mural of Stories of Lynn, which is like, it has Frederick Douglass and all these important people in Lynn and people of color in Lynn. And so I just think a lot of what happened that day, as you were saying earlier, was very serendipitous, and I'm very glad it all you know, unfolded the way it did.
Yo, just think about the outtakes. Remember the stuff that didn't make it in there. Remember the murals that were on either side of the tunnel coming through. I didn't even think about coming out of the darkness into the light. That was I didn't even think about that. But remember the murals on the side, and I think, hey, you know the artist or something that did those.
Cruz, shout out to Cruz Raw Artworks, where I work. They made that. It's amazing.
Yeah, and remember also, there was on that the final landing of that stairwell. Remember there was I don't know, syringes, pills, all of that. It was just like, it just couldn't get no more, you know, rock bottom than what was going on right there with that.
Yeah, I went back actually, and I took a shot of that, and I considered putting it in the video, but I ultimately decided against it because I don't think it needed it. But like, yeah, like just that, you know, that really kind of disappointed me. You know, the fact that, you know, kids could you know, ride by there or play by there, and there was at least 20 syringes in that pile. It's like a janitor went by and, you know, swept up all the syringes and then left it there. It was kind of sad and ridiculous, to be honest with you. But you know, that all the more reasons why, you know, the whole defunding the police thing, you know, is happening, because, you know, that some of that money that's being used to buy all these goddamn fucking, you know, tanks and rocket launchers and whatever the hell they have can be used to actually the community and actually clean the community, you know, provide more rehabilitation centers and a lot more different things than just spending all that money on law and order. And so, you know, I was really disappointed by that, but, you know, all the more reason why we should defund the police and use more of that money into the community.
Whatever you're up to next, I want to be down with that. The other thing is, I would not want to see it in color. I think the black and white is powerful. I don't know what kind of technical skill set it took to get the gold to be what it was in the filming, but
it was a lot of tediousness. It was me pretty much like isolating that one part. Like sometimes like it would spill because like if I didn't isolate it right, there'd be like a little red on your arm or something like that. So like it literally was just hours of me just trying to isolate the quality. Every time you would move and like your hand would pass by, I have to like cut out the part of your hand because then that would be kind of off color. So it was just like a lot of tedious work to try to just get the gold to be there.
Yeah, you did great. I'm a lay person to that world. It looked phenomenal. So imagine to other people in your world, they're like, yo, that took a lot of time to make that happen. Like, you know, I know the rest of, you know, your homies in the film industry are like,
Yeah, man.
a lot to do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, for a video like this, man, like I said, this was a video that, you know, both Jake and I, you know, our main goal was to get people to see this video. You know, we didn't want to like use this video as like, you know, we're gonna send it off to like film festivals and, you know, try to. It was like I want everyone to see this video, not just like an exclusive group or whatever. Of like, you know, I want everybody as much as possible to see this video, and that was the goal from beginning to end. So, you know, I'm just happy that people actually received the video the way I think it was intended to be received. And you know, like I said, I think the responses I've been getting from white people, because I really do feel like, you know, obviously people of color know what the fuck, you know, is happening, you know, but white people have the hardest time really kind of seeing that for themselves. And I feel like a video like this, because it's hard to want to watch voluntarily a video of somebody getting murdered. Even the Jacob Blake video, that was a tough video to sit through and watch. And it reminded me of the part of your piece where you talk about, imagine your kids, you know, watching you get shot. And I just, once that video came out and the, you know, Jacob Blake's kids are, you know, are there and he's being shot simply, you know, just going into a car and retrieving something. I think he said he was retrieving something, but like just having the kids be there to witness that event, they're traumatized for life. You know, and so it just took me back to that part of the video when you said that. And I know white people, when they, you know, sometimes if you know, something is hard to watch, they're going to get completely ignored. I think what the powerful part of this video is, we're not showing anything gruesome. You know, it's actually that your mind is what's bringing you to those places. And I think that was why it was so powerful, why people were telling me that they had to pause the video. It wasn't like we were showing anything. It was we were putting that image in their brain and they had to put it together for themselves. And I think that was the hard part about ingesting the video.
Yeah, it's trauma, man. Like, it really is some real trauma. I know that I'm surviving trauma, and that the another ugly piece of it is that the original, every part of that conception of that piece is real. None of it is fabricated or rhetorical. And so originally, your child in the back seat, imagine your child in the back seat when you get shot, is Philando. Okay, still, that's who that is. You can, to this day, you can go on YouTube and Google his name and you can see his whole death. You can see it. And his daughter's in the back seat. The gun is still drawn on him. His partner, his lady friend is on Facebook Live. When I'm like bleeding out, Facebook Live, you know, it's real. That's what that is. And it's just, and so for folks right now to think it's just the one time, it's not. It's multiple times now where there's children right there in the back seat. You know, and it's just, it's harmful, man. It's painful. It is traumatizing, you know. And then the Oscar Grant, you to this day, you can Google it and you see him handcuffed on the ground at a train stop and he just shoot him. It doesn't happen to anybody else. No other people. They edit out language that aren't curse words, but they'll let that play. You know, what does that say? The same thing it says when you let the 17-year-old white kid in Wisconsin murder two people, shoot somebody else's arm off, and then walk the street. The same thing it says when Dylan Roof
walked by the cops. Like,
the same thing it says when Dylan Roof shoots up a church full of black folks and they take them to Burger King.
Yeah.
To get something to eat. All that says something, you know what I mean? So trauma in itself, that's an understatement. But yeah, man, y'all, it gave some energy and love and light to it. And I always felt there was love coming from the crew, man. And even right now, Chris, I know, just kind of rock with you just now. Still, you know, it's all love, man. So I dig that. I dig how the Grindhouse crew and my crew, in my mind, is good peoples. So I subscribe to the channel and all of that.
Right. Yeah, man, and you know, like you said earlier, we'd love to do more with you, and I definitely have some ideas of things we can do. And I'm curious also, like how much, like, is there other poetry that you're working on, or that you have worked on, that you would like to see kind of become, bring to life in a video?
Hey, there's like several.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand that so many people like, yo, 25, you need to do more of this. The thing is many poets that do this stuff, that deliver these things. We would absolutely embrace the opportunity to have our visions, our stories, our narratives, the offerings that we give put in such a respectful way as y'all did with me in this piece. And so there's so many poets that I think y'all would do dope work with. And there's so many poems that I would like to do with you all. I'm trying to figure out, what it costs. I mean, you hooked it up. This is the first time, and it was dope. So I don't know how it takes time and money and sacrifice and all that to make that happen, man. And I would never think to just,
I think
take advantage of all that. So
I think when it comes to this message, my motto is like, when the work is important, like I don't throw money around on it, So something like this, it's money's not even a thought in my head, honestly, because it's more the message. And I think that, I use, this is what I try to teach, when I teach is filmmakers and what you do, whether you're not a filmmaker, maybe you're just a painter, or like you're a poet, this is the time to use your art as a weapon. You don't have to fire a gun. You don't have to resort to violence. Use your art as your weapon. And I feel like that's what we all did, for this piece, and why it came out the way it did is because we're using what we learned and what we love as a weapon for good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I second that. I think that this isn't something that I would even feel comfortable making a profit on or a daily rate on. It would take almost what it's about just completely away if I was putting money in my pocket at the end of this day. This is something that you want to be a part of spiritually, and you walk away, emotionally drained in some sense because you're hearing this powerful poem, but also you're walking away with a better feel for life and more empathy moving forward. And I think that's a little bit more important than a paycheck at the end of the day. I think people need to take time out of their days and read, African-American authors and poets and filmmakers, and just take a step back from their little, your little comfortable life, and put some good energy to people that deserve it and should be, educating people on themselves on different aspects that aren't just in your backyard or in your direct view. Go a little bit out of your way and learn some stuff,
So one more thing I'll add to the next, Chris, you don't know this, but I think Ed might remember this. Again, to say things in the universe are just lining up. Mm. It was so crazy during one of the breaks. Turns out that Jake and I know we got a mutual acquaintance that we know. And then so I hit up the acquaintance. It's like, yo, you will not believe who I'm with. And then we take a selfie, send it. And he's like, boom, could not believe it. Turns out I actually spoke at Jake's high school. I was a guest speaker at Jake's high school. So, I know I look young and good and all that, but I'm a classic cat, you know what I mean? So I was like, dang, I can't. And that was like his senior year. So
yeah,
Jake graduated like last year or something like that. I don't know, but
2013. So, but no, it was crazy too, because it wasn't like I'm gonna use KJ's name out there. KJ, he's a close friend of mine. Like we've been through some times together, and we both would have each other's back through thick and thin. So the fact that it was KJ, it wasn't just like some kid that I played ball with way down the line. It was my guy, and just everyone had good words with everyone, and it's just a good feeling. And if we didn't reach out to make this, then this wouldn't be in the universe, and we wouldn't have known this mutual connection. So just being bold enough to just ask questions. You could have said nah, and it would be like, damn, that sucks, but at least we went to do it. Could have made you the worst film of all time, but hey, we just got that connection. So I think people just not being afraid to go do something, and connections just follow, sometimes, like I said, sometimes the universe will throw you to the ground, but sometimes the universe it'll open up some doors, and you'll meet some when you're not afraid to just ask a few questions and put yourself out there.
I sent it to KJ. He lost his mind.
Yeah, I was texting Sunday about it.
Yeah, sorry, he lost his mind. Yeah.
Jake, I want to talk about actually the feature film that you've been working on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, so, you know, we had you on the podcast before. This was before you actually started filming your feature film. And now, you know, you've obviously went through the whole process of actually shooting it, editing it, and now it's being sent around. I think actually it got into a couple film festivals, right?
Yeah, we got into Urban Film Festival in Miami, Florida. And today we just heard back from Orlando Film Festival. We got into that as well. So for some reason, Florida loves our film right now.
Taking over Florida, man.
Florida.
And so for people who don't know, can you talk to us about what the film is about?
Yeah, it's, you know, it stems off me growing up in Lynn and having friends that rapped at an early age and put their heart and soul into it and put their own, you know, money into it and forever just were loyal to rapping. And it was a form of therapy for them. It was, you know, they can come from a long day of work or a long day of school or a breakup with a girlfriend, and they just kept making music, and they marketed it. They, you know, put it on Dat Piff. They always had a really cool, you know, mixtape cover. They were really into it, and they did it right. And the years went by, and, you know, no one was kind of blowing up the way you would think they would, but they kept doing it. And in film school, I was just inspired by that, and they were my guys. I feel like I could write about it because I was in the studio with them. I was in, you know, the basements chilling on a Tuesday night, or, you know, I felt like I had that license to write about it because I was close to these guys. So I wrote a film just about local rappers who, you know, at the end of the day, they weren't going to be famous. And so I wrote this feature just about, you know, the raw things about being, you know, an inner city rapper and going through it here and there with girls or with, you know, petty drug deals and going to studios. And that studio, you know, is really expensive, but it's nice. And your boy wants to go to that studio, but you don't want to fuck up that connection. So it's really just this raw story about ambition and what is ambition and what is blind ambition. That's really something I wanted to walk that thin line of, okay, 21-year-old rapping, that's dope. Oh, you're 28, you're 30, you're 40. Why are you doing that? Well, because they love it. Like I always give the example of, you could see a 45-year-old strumming the guitar at a coffee shop in front of 4 people and people clap. But for some reason, if a kid raps and puts out a music video and gets 100 views, he's a clown. So I wanted to, why is that? You know, what part of the culture is that? So I wanted to touch on that in the film and just tell a raw story about inner city rappers who, you know, put their heart and soul into this and don't catch a lot of breaks, but keep doing it because they love it and because of this ambition.
Dope, man. And Critta served as, I believe, a producer on that, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious in the production process. You want to talk a little bit about how the production went and sort of your takeaways from you know, putting this film together?
For that was to me, Evan?
Both of you, yeah.
Oh.
I go
usually
first.
I don't usually get interviewed, so that's why I usually do the other side of it. But you can go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, it was a lot. It took, you know, I'm lucky enough to play scholarship level basketball where I didn't come out of school with loans. So I felt like that was a huge, you know, push for me to go make this film. So I basically, you know, coming out with no loans, I saved up for a year and a half, working 65-hour, you know, weeks, grinding for it. And then just started, you know, hiring cast and crew and, you know, just getting, you know, as many people as possible to be part of this film. It was exhausting. It was a ton of emails, but I gave myself enough time. You know, locations always scare the hell out of me because I just felt like at any moment they were going to say you got to go, or they weren't going to be there to open the door. But it was a lot of just trusting people, surrounding yourself around good people, hiring, you know, high-level cast and high-level crew. You know, I wanted to put a lot of money into equipment and crew because I knew that the local talent could. I believe that we did enough table reads that they were going to be able to act, you know, professional in this film, and they were going to be able to play themselves. A lot of guys played themselves. So I wanted to put a lot of money into the crew and the equipment. So getting those, you know, Kathleen Castro as our DP, who, you know, shoots all over the world. Like, she's an incredible DP. You know, Sam Robinson as a gaffer. I knew that the film was going to look beautiful, and I wanted to make sure that we can tell the story and not tell it, you know, on an iPhone, or I wanted it to be, you know, high quality to because these rappers, they deserve to have their story told and not not just, obviously it needs to be gritty and all that, but also tell it with some, with some tender love and care. And I think that was important. So it was a lot of just, keep getting money. And then when you get these people that are good at what they do, I didn't want to step on toes. I wanted them to know my vision and them to do their thing. Same thing working with Harlem. I wasn't going to over direct Harlem, just I wasn't going to over direct guys that damn near playing themselves. They got the script and they were happy with it, and we ran with it. So it's a lot of the way I direct and the way I produce is just, let's get, locations, let's get people that want to be here, and I'm going to let people run with it. And if they need to get dialed back or they need some direction here and there, I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to overstep my boundary. I want people to be artistic and be comfortable in that sphere. But a lot of emails, a lot of stress, even in post-production right now, you get declined by a film festival and God damn, or you get into a little bit of a tussle with your editor or your sound guy or your color person, and you're like, damn, colorist, that's a lot of back and forth. She was in LA, I was in Boston. It's a lot of email, a lot of Zoom calls. So you take a lot of lows, a lot of highs, but that's what, our main character Sindel did. In some sense, we're all Sindel. We're all these artists that are trying to do this, and you get knocked down a lot, but then today you get an email from Orlando saying you got accepted and you're back to that high. The trailer gets that high, something else happens, so it's just balancing and staying in the middle, and not going too high, not going too low, and just keeping that balance.
We need the exclusive trailer drop tonight.
Right now. On the pod.
Countdown started tonight, 5 days away.
The good news is by the time this podcast comes out, because it'll come out next week, the trailer will be out. Because this podcast
go.
on Tuesday.
So we'll drop a link in the description.
We will drop a link in the description.
Watch it.
The trailer. Absolutely watch the trailer. I've gotten the opportunity to be privy to actually watch the trailer before it got released, and I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a great trailer. It looks like a great film. I can't wait to watch the whole thing, honestly.
So, Jake, are you trying to have it go? Are you hitting a new wave where it's going straight to like streaming services and Netflix now, or are you trying to,
we're doing the festival scene right now, so we're just entered into a ton of festivals and seeing kind of the feedback we get from there. I would like to get picked up for distribution, and kind of run with it from that, but eventually, I'd like to get it on, like an Amazon or Netflix, but it all depends on if we get picked up for distribution or not, or if it'll be self-distributed. Hopefully, I think we have a product where I think a company will come in and want to distribute it, but you just never know. But we're gonna kind of let that one feel out and see where we're at. But hopefully, I'll get a private Vimeo link up pretty soon, so I can kind of send it out to people that really want to.
Get that unlisted link. Nice.
I definitely want to view that. Little viewing party or something.
Sure.
Yeah, it's tricky. I wanted to do like an opening night in Lynn City Hall and get the whole city to come out, but with COVID and
it's so hard to.
We should try to get him on one of these drive-throughs. There's been so many drive-throughs popping up.
I know. I was thinking about that. The only thing that scared me about that, and this is me being whatever, a petty artist or whatever, but I spend a lot of good coin on sound design, and I'm like, I don't know if those are gonna have good. Like that.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, Critter, you have any final questions or anything you want to add before we kind of close it out?
No, actually, Jake answered the couple questions that I had about the movie. And obviously, I was gonna throw the when can we see the trailer kind of thing. So that ended up working out. So
Monday. Whatever
Monday.
day is that?
It'll already be out. So
yeah, so if you're watching this, it's already out and you got to watch it. Absolutely. Like, pause this video, jump on that real quick, then come back to this. But, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, I like every time it seems like we get together, I always enjoy our conversations and where things go. And you guys are amazing, great artists, and I'm just really appreciative that I got to work with you guys on something.
Yeah, we are amazing. It's we, man. It's always we, never I.
Right.
Always. Thank you.
No problem, man. No problem. So if you guys like this episode, make sure you guys show us some love by subscribing to us, commenting, liking our stuff. And then, obviously with these two gentlemen here, make sure you're looking up for them. Harlem, he's a performer. I think is there people wanted to reach out to you? Is there like an email or something they can reach out to you?
Yeah, just hit me at Harlym125 at Gmail. But Harlem spelled with a Y, Harlym. The number's 125. Well, actually, it's one, the word 2, 5, then the number 5. It's complicated. Just Harlym125 at Gmail. It'll be all right.
Word.
Right now.
Word.
And Jake with B Team Inspired Cinema, make sure you're looking out for that trailer as we just talked about. Should be out as this video, as you're watching this video. Look out for the process. Hopefully we can get some sort of distribution deal with it, and hopefully the whole world gets to watch these amazing local artists from Lynn get their time on screen. So thank y'all so much.
Yeah, we need some T-shirts is it called The Process, right?
Yeah, The Process. Well, T-shirts T-shirts coming soon on monetary where
all right.
we'll get the T-shirt. Artist.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right.
Peace out, guys.
Love and light.
Take care.
Yes, sir.